Hello. So I've had a few requests to do a video about floating. Floating is a technique where you float your material that you're going to embroider on top of your hoop instead of actually putting it inside the hoop. So this is how you start out. First, you hoop your stabilizer, and for this particular design I'm going to hoop tearaway stabilizer. So I'm just going to tighten this up. This design I'm going to do a towel, so I'm just going to tighten this up, and I'm going to do a bath towel. Tighten this up, check my tension, and I like to, since I'm going to use pretty much this whole piece, I just tear off the extra, since towel has a bunch of extra fabric. And whenever I'm doing the floating technique, it's easier for me to not have this extra. So since I'm using floating and I'm doing a towel, I like to have 2 layers of stabilizer. So this is what I'm going to use. It's Sulky KK 2000. I get it at Hobby Lobby. It's a temporary spray adhesive. This costs $15.99, but you can use a 40% off discount and get it for a little bit cheaper. It has a green lid. And this is a small container. I wish they carried it bigger. Maybe I'll try to find it online, because this was really expensive for a really small bottle. And I use a lot of this. I use it all the time. If you really like this floating, try to find this for a better deal, because you're going to use it a lot. So once you have your stabilizer hooped, you just take your spray adhesive. And I was not spraying that very hard. It only takes a little bit. I'm going to use scrap pieces because I have a whole bunch of them. So instead of cutting another piece of stabilizer, I'm going to use scrap. So you just spray your adhesive and just press that down and press it smooth. So now for your material, if you didn't want to use your second piece of stabilizer there, you could just spray that and then put your material down, but I wanted to use 2. So now to do your material, you do the same method. You spray it, and then you have whatever material you want lined up and ready to go. Pretty much lined up where you want it. I have a pin there marking where my center is, and then I'm going to line it up, the little mark right there on your hoop. Can you see it? The mark right there on your hoop shows you where your center is. So I'm going to go ahead and spray on my stabilizer. I'm not spraying it on my machine. It may look like that, but I'm not. Line this up where I want my design to be. And then you press it flat all the way around. Raise up the back. Make sure it's centered with the line. And since it has so much slack on the back, I'm going to roll this up. And just lay it on the top for now. Now, I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Slide it up under my machine, hook it on, and then you see how that extra fabric is like right there up on my mechanism? I'm going to take some pins, some clips that my husband bought me, and I'm going to clip it to where it's not laying on that mechanism. I'm going to clip it up out of the way. As you can see, you may be able to see how the material is nice and smooth on the stabilizer there. It's nice and smooth on the hoop. Now, if that pin is just there for a reference, just to show me middle, I could take it out there. But if you see how I'm pulling this up, it's stuck down there with that temporary adhesive. So, I mean, you could babysit this. Now, since I'm using this fuzzy looking towel, I'm going to go ahead and slide my water soluble stabilizer on here. And I like to use painter's tape just to hold it in place. I am going to sit here and babysit this and watch it, you know. And this painter's tape, this water soluble stabilizer does tend to, you know, gather up together, especially if you're doing an intricate design. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do on this towel yet, since this is for demonstration. But so it's there hooped and ready. Actually, it's not hooped, it's floating and ready. So I'll just clip this to, you know, keep it out of the way and make sure it doesn't get, because you don't want it to get up there around the needle, and depending on how you hooped your towel, it could all be over here, and you would definitely not want it to get near the needle. Now, if you were doing a pot holder or something like that, something that's small into the hoop, you may want to take some pins and pin them down, because if they're close to the size of the hoop, you spray them down, or if it's something thick, you know, pot holder is kind of thick. I know this is black, so it's hard to see. So you may want to take like a little sewing pin, and you can put this down into the pot holder and then down into the stabilizer and then back up. It will actually work. And then that will hold it down into your hoop if it's, you know, kind of small. I mean, the spray wood adhesive still will hold it. And I've even seen some embroiderers not use the spray adhesive, just pin them down, you know, pin them on all four sides. Just make sure you don't put your pins where your embroidery is going to be, because you wouldn't want your needle to hit any of those pins, break it off. Let's see. Let's see if I can peel that back there so you can see. You see how that's the stabilizer. You see the dirty stuff there on my hoop? That's from me using this floating method so much. That's the adhesive stuck to my hoop. It needs a cleaning. So what I like to clean it with is this LA's Totally Awesome. You get it from the Dollar Tree for $1. Just take your hoop apart and spray down a rag. Wipe down the plastic really well. I try not to get it on the metal. I don't know if it would hurt it or not. I don't know if it would rust. But I just wipe down the metal every once in a while whenever it gets kind of gray looking. I would not recommend spraying the adhesive onto the fabric. I have never had any residue problems on fabric, but with this brand, there are cheaper brands, but this is the one that I like. Always, always, always spray it on your stabilizer. I have done multiple projects with this floating method. I've done everything from baby onesies to towels, pot holders, leather headrest. I did, because I know that you can hoop leather. It will leave indents if you don't wrap your hoops with muslin. I mean, that's the experience that I've had. I didn't want to mess with the muslin, so I did, and the leather headrest actually was laying here and actually came up all the way up over my machine like this. And then here's another example of something that I hooped. And I mean, this is a vest, and you can see how thick and fluffy it is. It's a puffer vest, and this is in my mid back. This is mine. This was one of the first things that I floated, and it did really well. And I put that water soluble stabilizer on top just to keep this. it keeps the puffiness down. So if you're doing like minky fabric or anything that's fluffy, because can you imagine, I put this under the needle and this was all like sticking up like that. So you got to imagine the needle going into it like this. That's what it would look like, except my thumb is thicker than a needle. So that water soluble stabilizer, it holds it down. That way the needle has something to, you know, it has a smooth spot to click on. And it turned out well, turned out really well. So, and then that's what the back of it looks like. And this was just a cheap vest that I got at Walmart like 5 years ago. But it's really, really thick. And you're able to do this on your Brother SE625. But I would never, 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 never want to hoop this because of the thickness. I don't even think you could. But by using this floating method, you can. So let me know what y'all think of this method. If you've ever tried it, what projects you've tried it on. Maybe there's something that I haven't tried it on. Maybe I'd want to do it. So let me know what you think, and like the video. Give me a thumbs up. Send me an emoji. I like emojis. The little winky one's my favorite. Y'all have a good day.